on the set in 3, 2, 1, going live.
All right, Don, another episode. I'm
Right
Mel
on.
Craig.
I'm Don Ramsey.
And welcome to another episode of HB Unplugged. I lost count.
Unplugged.
I've lost count. I don't even know how many episodes we got. But
Yeah, once you interview Kelly Slater, I kind of goes, I mean, we're
Right, nice setup there.
Yeah,
Go
really.
follow Kelly Slater. Who the fuck is this guy?
that really sucks. Well, today's guest, welcome. You know, we got Kevin Elliott. You know, you got such a big name in this community, Kevin. I mean, let's first off, the way we start the show, we want to learn about you and your family. And that's really how we want to cut open the doors. And we'll start with, you know, wife, kids, whatever you've got.
Sure.
And let's roll with that first.
Awesome. All right. Well, number one, thank you guys for having me.
Oh, yeah.
Legends. It's cool to be here.
In our own mind.
Yeah, it's cool to be here, especially this guy right here. But no, it's great. Born and raised in Huntington Beach. I have a wife, Jane, and then 2 little kids, a 2.5-year-old named Jet, of course, which
Jet,
is cool.
oh,
Yeah.
cool, yeah.
Naturally, right?
Yeah.
And a daughter, Goldie, who's 16 months. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I'm just, you know,
Wow.
I'm tired
You
all
don't
around.
even have gray hair yet.
No, maybe
It's
a little
coming.
bit in my
It's
beard
coming.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
it's coming. Trust me. Yeah.
But it's been great. We love it. It's, you know, like I said, born and raised, and I started my business here in 2007. You know, we have about 80 full-time employees just up the street on Bolsa.
And what business is that?
It's Code 4, so we're an event production marketing company.
Cool name, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No more assistance needed.
That's right. I picked the name because I wanted people to ask me, Code 4, what the hell is that? so it was kind of cool. But you know, basically built this event company in town, and then in 2016 had read that there was an air show coming to the beach, and I grew up building and flying remote control airplanes with my dad, and just was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I love aviation. Let's go. I told my wife, I said, let's go to the beach and check it out. So
Have you got into drones yet?
Drones are boring. Doesn't require any skill.
Oh,
Forget about it. You got to have skill. You remember, I'm from the modeling days where you'd spend like 6 months building it and then like about 30 seconds crashing it. You know what I mean? And so the drones, they don't impress me. Anybody can fly a drone. But yeah, so it would, you know, went down to the beach with my wife. Like, let's go to the beach today. We're gonna watch the air show. And she's like, you never want to go to the beach except for when planes are flying. I said, that's true.
Yeah.
So we
Why
go
not?
down to the beach and we watch the air show. And I thought, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I've got to reach out and see if they need help.
that's
and,
when Breitling was the main
yeah,
sponsor.
remember that? That
Yes,
was, and so turns out they did need help, a lot of help, and I ended up getting involved in 2017 as an investor in the show, and also I took over the ground production. The group that started it was, you know, good at arranging the airplanes, but didn't really know anything about putting on an event on the ground, which was my specialty and happened to be here. So thought this is cool. You know, they say you're supposed to combine your profession and your passion, and thought this was a cool opportunity to do in my hometown. I had never done any events in my hometown, frankly. Really wasn't a thing. I don't even think we knew each other at that time, right?
No, I think we met in 2017
Yeah.
when you started it, because I started telling you about the VW buses.
That's right.
And we were gonna pick up the pilots again because Chris Cole had asked us to do it, and
Yep.
then when they came back for the year second, actually the Blue Angels, that's when the captain of the Blue Angels told Chris Cole that, hey, are you going to drive us around in VW buses like you did the Thunderbirds? And that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah.
And
How
we
cool is that
met.
they asked that?
Yeah.
And it's a treat to be able to do that.
Oh, it's so good.
have
They love it, and you know, it's always good. It's if I just get the information to Don a little sooner, he'd like that, because then he wouldn't have to be making calls at midnight asking you guys. But
No,
we appreciate
we're
it very
good.
much.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway, so that's a little bit about my family and my background and kind of how I came to become a little bit more of a
Wait
public person.
So you had told me the story about how you had planned to start the company, and that you had showed your mother, who's a teacher
Oh, yeah.
at Circleview.
That's right.
Is she still teaching at Circleview?
She's retired now,
okay.
but we have a lot of friends that teach still. And she's still substitute teaching, of
Oh,
course,
okay.
there and everywhere.
Yeah,
So.
because
Oh, so
I
it
grew
helps
up
out.
right across the street
Yeah.
from Circleview.
Yeah, so I grew up I grew up in Huntington as well, as I've said, but I grew up literally just a stone's throw away from the office on Bolsa, in the Schroeder neighborhood. If you know
Oh,
where that
okay,
is.
yeah.
So we used
Schroeder
to,
Elementary.
yeah, remember when we all remember when the big Boeing building was there, right? So
Oh, yeah,
I want to know which
that's
way
why
the
we
wind was
moved here.
blowing. I'd ride my bike to the end of the street and look down and see which way the flag
Flag was
was going.
blowing.
And I'd know, like, okay, I'm either going to go down to the dog beach and fly my plane there, which I guess my wife always like, people don't do that anymore. And then we'll drive by and I'll see a plane. I'll be like, aha, yes, they still do. Look at that. Or we'd go to Estancia High School.
Right where the cliffs were.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the planes were right there.
That was
Yeah.
me. And but so yeah, I've been around the neighborhood for a while. But yes, I went to Grace Lutheran, and then I went to Circleview, and then Springview, and then I was supposed to go to Marina High, and my parents moved across town, and I ended up going to Fountain Valley. So I call that a black mark in my in my history. I meet people all the time. They're like, "Oh, Huntington Beach. I went to Edison," and I'm like, "Well, okay, you're dead to me." You know, that's, I don't know.
I went to Marina.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to. All my friends went to Marina. So, but yeah, my mom was a teacher at Circleview, and after I went there, she wasn't there when I was there. But yeah, it was great. We have a lot of friends that are still. Teachers in the district that all come down to the air show.
She's the
big
one
fans.
that helped you. You had,
So
can we talk about that for a minute?
Course,
because the story is unbelievable.
So I started my business, and my mom was, I didn't have a investor or anything like that. So my mom was my investor. So yeah, I can't remember exactly which story I told you, but we would, my mom would say, "You need to borrow $20," So I need to borrow $20.
So it wasn't like a big time investment.
No,
it was like, it was
it got better. So, she'd say, you need $20, you need to eat. You need to eat. And so, because I was always working, so I never would stop to eat. And back then I was super skinny, so it was important that I ate, right? And you got to eat. So she gave me $20, and I'd put some gas in my car and drive up. So I started my company essentially in the loft of a condo, and then. $20 turned into, can I borrow your property tax money? Sure, but I got to have it back by the 15th because, I got to pay my property taxes. And then, eventually she actually went out and without telling me and sat me down and said, here's a checkbook. It's I think it was a $200,000 line of credit on her house. And she said, "I hope you make $1 million." And
wow, what a trip!
And without that, I wouldn't be where I am. So I didn't have a lot, but I had a great mom, and
she saw the vision.
Who was willing to put it all on the line for her kids. So so if you're listening, Mom,
pressure was
thanks
on.
for that.
Oh
Yeah. So anyway, she's homeless now, but it's great.
Oh yeah.
No, it was great. My mom is.
We'll teach for food.
Yeah, exactly. No, my mom has been my biggest supporter, and as it should be. And now hopefully I get to be the biggest supporter for my kids. As they pursue their passions.
Well, I'm sure your mom got her investment back, and she's all happy.
Oh,
Yeah, I did at one point. Shortly after, my business was reasonably successful. It's always a struggle to run a business, as we all know. But,
especially in California.
I'll tell you a little. So it's kind of shortly after I started the company in 2007. One of my major customers was the LA Galaxy soccer team. They still are, and they pulled me in and said, "Hey, we need to talk to you. Come down for a meeting." I thought, "Oh, this isn't going to be good." And they said, "Sign this document." It's an NDA. I said, "We're signing David Beckham to the team. You have 2 weeks to basically convert the stadium. So give us some ideas." And so I gave them a proposal. Said, here's $1 million worth of ideas. They looked at it for about 20 seconds and go, "Looks good. Do it." I said, "Wait,
really?
All of it? How?" So
yeah, I've read a lot about you. You've got some big names underneath your belt.
So I started. That was a really great opportunity for me early on, and they're still my great friends to this day. In fact, I was just talking to my friend who's the general manager for the stadium, literally on the way in here. So anyway, I told you all of that to tell you that at some point, probably 2 years in, I wanted to do something big for my mom, who was there for me, and I ended up buying her a BMW and putting it in a driveway with the big bow on it, like you see in the commercial.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty cool to be able to do. But anyways, I could probably do that every year and still owe her. But anyway, she got one car out of it, so that's it.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
And so he turned that whole thing into probably, in my opinion, the number one event that happens in our town. They're living here as long as I have, and I'm part of the 4th of July and just about every big event that happens there. The air show is number one for so many reasons. I mean, you can't even list them all, and I shared this at the city council meeting the other night. The amount of patriotism that it generates is it's unbelievable. And I've had this conversation with you a couple times, because knowing how things were back when I was young and got out of the Army, it was way different.
That was pre-Wright brothers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
No. Okay. I'm sorry.
But to see what he's done and actually to be part of it, I've been part of every single air show.
You might as well be a brand ambassador at this point, to be honest.
it's unbelievable. To
You know,
me
one year,
how
I don't mean to
fantastic.
like totally derail
Yeah.
what you're
No,
saying.
no.
No,
but
go,
one
go,
year I
go.
called Don and I said, I want to do something really cool this year it was, by the way, it was 2021. Remember that?
Yes,
Everybody's
it was-
favorite year
yeah,
of the air
yeah,
show.
it was during
We won't
the
talk about
pandemic.
that.
Yes.
But we had 21 jets because we had all 3 North American jet teams. It had never happened before in history. And I thought, I got to do something really cool. And so I said, we're going to do 21 jet salute for 2021. And what nobody knows is our plan was to fly all 3 jet teams together on the Sunday. That, of course, didn't happen, which had never happened before, right? 21 jet salute, 21 jets. So that's the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, and the Canadian Snowbirds all in formation up in the sky. This is my big dream. So I called Don. Don, I got to do something cool. I said, can you find me some wood from the original Huntington Beach Pier
Wow.
from whatever it was,
About 1920.
1920. I said, and I want to build these gifts for the performers out of this wood. And he goes, all right, let me go to work. And he found me
I found him.
a piece of the pier.
An original pier.
And
in John
we
Thomas's yard.
had these beautiful surfboard fins shaped out of it that were sitting on these chunks of wood that were from the original pier. And
So the chunk of wood was the pier.
was the base.
And then you made a fin.
Yep, and the fin had a beautiful like inlaid fiberglass thing on it.
Unreal.
And
Yeah.
I'd have to show it to you to really
I
do it
surprised him.
justice.
I told him, hey, I'm coming over. I got something for you. And it was about 10 feet long, 1.5 feet wide, and about 10 inches thick or
Oh,
something.
so it's a beam.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
One guy
beam.
could, it was off the old pier.
Yeah,
And
that's a
John
beam.
Thomas.
How many people had to carry it?
Well, let me tell you a quick story. The reason what happened to all that wood was all the oil derricks that were built after 1920, they came off of the old pier because the wood was so sturdy and strong that they reused it and built the oil derricks. And John Thomas, who owned a lot of the oil derricks, tore them down, and I knew for sure some of that wood was in his yard. Sure enough, Steve Thomas takes me over, and that was the wood, and I knew the whole history of it.
So we made these these are presentos. So the teams usually get something everywhere they go, and I thought we really have to go above and beyond, and so we made this. So you got this wood, which was like an incredible find. I brought in this artist that makes these custom wood projects, and he made these beautiful surfboard fins out of it, and it says, and then we put little plaques on the back that says, for your participation, it said something to the effect of, may our relationship be as enduring as this basically this piece of the pier from 1920 or whatever it was, and
that was on a plaque.
and it was on a plaque on the back, and they still have it now in the Thunderbirds and the Blues, each in their respective museums. They're sitting in there. So
Wow, what a
pretty
treat.
cool.
Yeah.
So that's one of
Yeah.
the fun things that we did. These are things
How many
people,
did you make?
Really, people don't know. I think there was 4 of them made.
Oh,
I think
okay.
4. So one for each of the teams, and then I made one that I have in my office. That's sort of like part of the Pacific Airshow memorabilia collection.
We got to get a photo. So what we do
Yeah.
is Alejandro will collect some photos from you as we do the show.
Sure.
And we put them right up here. So
Oh,
while we're
cool.
talking, we'll show those if you got pictures of them or if you have one.
No, I'm happy to.
Yeah, let's
For
get
sure.
let's get a photo of one.
Yeah. So that was one of the fun things we did together.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so-
was. I was glad I was because when you asked me, I said, "Well, I'm going to."
I didn't know.
and of course, I pulled it off.
Yeah,
Was this before or after the racks?
What say that?
Remember all those racks?
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember the racks. I can't remember though, man. That was another one. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and so Pacific Airshow for me has just become, obviously it's kind of the thing I'm known for, but really my substantive business is Code 4, and I built that here. And but the thing that nobody knows is, I volunteered with the 4th of July for many years, but I really wasn't involved. I never did never had a customer that did an event in my hometown, so never even had been to City Hall until all of a sudden I go and get involved in this air show. And I had a very substantive business that I built here over many, many years as my hometown. And so some people know that, and then some people, they like to come out and be very critical, and it's I find to be very lame.
They don't know the background of it.
I want to touch on one thing, though.
Yeah.
So many people go to an event, and it's not to say that whether they enjoy the event or not, because most people enjoy a great event.
Yeah.
Obviously, the air show is an amazing event to be a part of. Sometimes I just walk over the beach. Sometimes I sit on the deck of my roof and watch the jets a little fly. But I want to talk a little bit about what does it take to put an event on. I've done something small. I'd had a Huntington Beach car show on Main Street with Don. We did the pier. It was hot rods and VWs. Remember, that was a big show.
That was cool.
It was a cool show, but I don't think people realize the magnitude of what you go through to put on an event like the Pacific Airshow. By the way, I'm assuming, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the biggest airshow events in the world.
Yes, it is. It's certainly the most attended air show in the United States. There are events like Oshkosh, and people throw that out, and it's like that's more of a fly-in. It's a very much an enthusiast event. By sheer numbers, Pacific Airshow is bigger, and it's. I mean, I've never done anything as difficult as Pacific Airshow. I mean, because if you just think about an event, right? Even if it's a big concert, let's say it's 30,000 people, like that's a small fraction of what we have at the air show, right? And you're working within typically a confined area, a fenced area, But Pacific Airshow is not just what happens on the ground. It's what happens on the ground. It's what happens in the air. And it's also what happens out on the water. And so you have sort of all of these combined factors, many risk factors, so many more agencies involved. That's why it cracks me up when people show up at the council meetings or whatever and say, he doesn't get his permits. It's like the concept that you could put an event on that's as complicated as Pacific Airshow and not be completely buttoned up as a company is like a complete joke. It's not a serious consideration. So. Right. But, they like to lob that around anyways. And so, as we've gone and as the event has grown, we've had to make sure that we tick all of the boxes. I mean, this year we had to go and apply for a coastal development permit, which is a whole long story. But suffice to say that, going to the Coastal Commission and trying to secure approval to do this event, we got unanimous approval for 5 years to hold the event. Who knew? Did you know that there's a Caltrans division of aeronautics? Did anybody know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I know that because I have to get a permit from them too. We have every agency under the sun that we engage with. And of course, we have great relationships with all of them because we're extremely reputable. So it's tough. It's really tough, especially in California. But we have a great team. And that really is what makes it happen. I do this because of the people that I'm surrounded by, not just, guys like Don, but, and Rick and like the people in this community that rally in support of this event, but also the people, that work for the event that are certainly not doing it for the money. And I do it for them really more than anybody else. Yeah, Cheyenne. I mean, we have some real people that are around this event that are just absolute blessings. And they do it because they're passionate about it. The volunteers, I mean, it's I take credit as the person who is like the front man, but I'm very cautious to always recognize everybody and say, hey, I don't mind being the front man, but I couldn't do it without the hundreds and hundreds of people behind the scenes. I was just going to say, I'm assuming that's a lot of people. And it's not just, it's not just even like the Code 4 staff and the Pacific Airshow staff and Cheyenne and like the volunteers. You have amazing public safety agency partners, whether it's Huntington Beach Police, Marine Safety, Fire, you've got the Orange County Sheriffs, you've got all the mutual aid, you've got the state parks. I mean, the amount of people that it takes to pull this thing off, Coast Guard, FAA, the SoCal Tracon, which, manages all the airspace, the fact that they send people down to the show who sit there on the beach with us in the sun to make sure everything goes flawlessly. Now, I don't know, you guys aren't pilots, right?
No.
You flew a hang glider once. I saw you did land and puke once, too, on the beach. That's another thing we can talk about.
Yeah, we don't go there. But we got bring that up. We got to bring that up.
Okay. Yeah. If you looked at a map, like basically an aviation chart, you would see we're literally sitting underneath some of the most complicated airspace in the entire world. So you've got Orange County, you've got Long Beach, and then above us, we've got the Class Bravo airspace for LAX that comes right over the top of Huntington Beach. And so what we're basically doing is we're taking, think of a cookie cutter, a big one, right? And we're cookie cutting a 5 nautical mile radius, so basically a 10 nautical mile diameter circle up to 15,000 feet right out of that airspace, and we're sterilizing it for the air show. And everybody else has to fly around. And all of the parts and pieces have to work as far as communication, notification to all the pilots.
And you think about all the air traffic controllers that have to deal with that. Oh my God,
it is. It's a lot.
Huge.
And not only do they deal with it, they love it because they support aviation, because they're passionate about it, and because they respect what we've done. I think it really actually, the credit for that goes to Ken Ashmore, who's our air operations director. We call him the Godfather. So he was the operations director at Long Beach Airport for 20 years before going full-time into the airshow business, moved to Oregon, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I met him when I got involved in the airshow in 2017. It was his idea to do this airshow here. And because of his reputation with the Southern California Airspace Users Group, when he called and said, I want to do an air show in Huntington Beach, they didn't just hang up on him. They would just hang up on me like, click, hello, is anybody there? But they actually said, okay, tell us more. And, and they were able to work it out. And fun fact, originally when the air show happened in 2016, it was actually the show center line was right on Beach Boulevard. It was like half on State Beach and half on City Beach. And they ended up actually having to move the airbox to the north. So it's pretty much centered on the pool at the Hilton. Because of the departing traffic from Orange County Airport, because they have to take off and they actually have to turn left to avoid hitting the outside of our airspace circle that I sort of mentioned.
It seems so much bigger than that, because when these jets, like when they fly over our house.
Yeah.
By the way, when they fly over, it's so I'm the last to complain. I love my window shade. I'm like, yeah, louder, and I literally can see the pilot's helmet.
Yeah.
When they're banking, and then they go. And it's got to be farther than 10 miles.
Yeah, well, it's 5 miles essentially from the center point. Now, if they can go outside of that circle, it's just not sterile airspace anymore. But so all of those aerobatic maneuvers are contained within that container for specifically for their safety, as well as the safety of the other air traffic. So you wouldn't necessarily have the Thunderbirds ripping outside of the TFR and blowing into the side of a passenger jet going on departure from Orange County.
Right.
It's all very safe, but there's protocols in place for that sort of thing. So when we brief it in the morning, we're like, hey guys, keep in mind, on this southern end of the TFR, you have RPT traffics basically coming out 1,500 feet from Orange County. So, and they can go right up to the edge. So everybody's just very aware. The level of complication, but the briefing and all of the work that goes into it keeps everybody very, very safe. And then, of course, we've got an entire team of people. We effectively have a representation from every single agency, from the city agencies to the Coast Guard to the FAA to the Southern California TRACON. We have a full radar facilities there on the beach, so we can track where everybody is. We can see if there's an airplane that blunders into our airspace, which has happened. Somebody's going out to Catalina for a little burger from Fullerton, and they don't check the NOTAMs and see that there's a big air show going on. They go flying right through. Well, we just got to call it off until they're completely clear of our airspace. Wow. Unfortunately for them, when they land, they lose their pilot's license.
Oh, yeah.
So
Has that happened before?
it happened. As far as I know, it's happened once, yeah.
Oh,
But
Karen and I watched a documentary on the Canadian team.
the
It was-
51st state.
It was unreal. It was unreal what these guys. So the reason I'm bringing this up for our listeners, when you think about what you're talking about, the magnitude of complication, because not only do they have to think about that cookie cutter airspace, they're thinking about their routine.
Correct.
Being inches, like what they were talking about, how each of them count on each other, shoulder to shoulder.
Correct.
They don't. You watch them fly. They don't even look to the right. They're just sitting there like this, flying, keeping their head in one spot, making sure that they do what they're supposed to do. Because just incredible balance and technique to keep the team that tight and that together. And at the same time, thinking about that space that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
How
So-
complicated that's got to be. And the radios must be going like crazy because you got so many people involved.
Yeah, well, actually, it's the radios you can listen to the radio if you come down to the air show, and we actually sometimes have a lot of the commentary and what they do over the speakers. They actually don't communicate with words; they communicate a lot of times with sounds. It's kind of strange. But like as you mentioned, when they're flying, they're all following the leader. So the commander, the Thunderbird commander, Thunderbird 1, Sheik, he'll fly the routine. He's the one that's responsible for flying the routine. Everybody else is just following the leader.
Right.
So as you mentioned, if you're on the left wing, you're looking right. If you're on the right wing, you're looking left. And you're simply just holding position. And they'll actually, in the practice, if you ever get a chance to watch, they sit around the conference room and they'll actually call out. They're like, okay, ready, right turn. And then you'll hear them like, you make all these sounds or whatever, or they'll make like clicks or different noises that mean certain things in the sequence, and they'll sit with their eyes closed, and they'll fly the sequence in the chair. They do this every morning at the Shore Break Hotel. They'll fly the sequence in the chair, right? So they're imagining exactly every move that they're going to make before they make it. And the idea is to take all of those minds, those 6 minds, and get them into one way of thinking, right? So that you will automatically know how the other person is going to react before they do it. And then that helps them in the safety of flight. So you'll even see times where they've had close calls or there's been incidents where they all react in the same way. It's absolutely incredible. And I will also add my own anecdote. I'm not an aerobatic pilot. I do know a lot of aerobatic pilots naturally, but I did have the privilege of one time going and flying an aerobatic routine with Sean Tucker, who's arguably the most notable aerobatic pilot possibly in human history. He's one of the living legends of aviation. He hosts the Living Legends of Aviation Gala with John Travolta.
What did you fly in?
And I flew in his as extra, which is one of those little aerobatic airplanes. And everybody thinks the jets are cool, right? Because the jets are cool. They're loud, right. They're fast. But you might be able to do like 6 or 7 Gs in one of those jets. But in one of those little aerobatic airplanes, the little propeller planes, we call them flip-floppers. And the flip-flopper, you could do 10 or 11 Gs. So it's physically way more demanding. The amount of physical stamina and strength that you have to endure that type of abuse is unlike anything I would say any other athlete would experience. Formula One athlete, I could never be one. I would put an aircraft pilot up against a Formula One driver all day. It is absolutely insane, the pressures and that are put through the body. So when you just think about that in the context of trying to fly 12 inches off of somebody's wing while going over 500 miles an hour and then putting your body under that kind of stress, it really puts it into perspective for you.
Yeah, they say it feels like almost like your bones crush and stuff. Like it's just insane.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're, when they do those maneuvers, like the minimum radius turn, that's always a favorite, right? So that's where they come in, they're super fast, and they bank, and then they turn in basically a big circle right in front of the crowd. But they don't lose altitude. They might be 200 feet off the deck. The min radius turn could be, a 7-8 G maneuver. So the body the entire time is feeling 7 or 8 times heavier. And not only do you have to like pull back on the stick, and hold your hand in that position and fly the intricacy of that maneuver, but you're trying to hold your head up at the same time. So the physical state of these pilots is absolutely incredible. And I could never be one for that reason.
Wait a minute. Didn't you just get your license?
That's true. I am a licensed pilot, but I'm not an aerobatic pilot at this point. So straight levels for me. It's funny. I did say that to my wife the other day. I said, maybe I should just become an aerobatic pilot. That'd be pretty cool. She's like, well, whatever you want to do. So never say never. But I'm definitely going to have to find a gym around here. So I guess.
Start working out. Yeah, you got to get in shape. Yeah, if you're going to do that. Pulling those like the documentary we saw, they were explaining how hard it is to not pass out.
That's right.
Difficult to do those maneuvers and not pass out.
And there's part of it, and again, I'm not the foremost expert. There's part of it that's just conditioning, right? You've got to get your body conditioned to that level of abuse. So they'll actually we've all seen the little machine where they sit in it and they just swing you around as fast as they can until you pass out. And you got to get your body used to that type of thing. I have a couple of the guys who have told me, when the air show season ends like right around November and then usually starts about March again. So it's there's a season for it. So usually in the spring, they'll jump in the airplane and not have gone and flown for a bit and start practicing and rehearse. And they go and they have to intentionally make themselves sick, like you would be sick off of a roller coaster, and then kind of just build up a tolerance. A G tolerance is what they call it. So, and it's different for different people, I suppose, but it's an incredible thing.
Well, really,
there's a certain degree of sickness that we're talking about here. When I jumped out of the plane,
this is a good segue.
Actually, so he allowed me to jump out of one of the planes originally when I think it was.
You jumped with the Leapfrogs.
Yes, I jumped with
US
the
Navy Leapfrogs. But it was their first time, by the way. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah. But what was funny was, originally, I had wanted, or they asked me if I think it was, it was some lady who did work for you then, Lynn May.
Yeah, Lynn, she's great.
Lynn got a hold of me and said, "Hey, how'd you like to fly in one of the jets? And I go, hell yeah. And I go, she goes, how old are you? And I told her my age. She goes, well, we can't do that. She goes, maybe you can jump out of an airplane. I go, well, I'll do that. And I think I was 71 at the time.
It was
72, whatever. It was back in 2022, so I think I was 70. Anyway, jumping out of the airplane over 2 miles above the Huntington Beach Pier, and it was all good while I was,
What did it look like from that height?
It was because the weather was fantastic, and you could see all the way to L.A. and all the way to San Diego, really. But coming down, it was just breathtaking. I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, the dopamine it created. I felt this sense that it was unreal. And then the guy I was harnessed to says, okay, we're gonna go into a little spin. And I go, okay. And the reason was to slow down because we literally free-felled for about 35 seconds or something like that, which is a long time. You're falling like you're hauling ass. I don't know how fast we were going, but
it was fast. Yeah.
And I got this big smile on my face. They sent me a video because they have one guy with a camera and he's right next to you taking pictures of you doing it. And so as I did it, the guy goes, okay, we're going to go and do a spin so we can slow down. Right before that, he pointed out a couple whales. He goes, look at those whales. I go, oh my God, we're
unreal.
Oh yeah, it was a trip. And then all of a sudden we started doing that spin and I thought I was okay, but I wasn't used to that.
Is exactly what I'm talking about, the physical strain on your body.
Yeah, it just, I wasn't used to it. So by the time or right before I landed, I go, I'm going to barf. He goes, go for it. And I just let it out, and it was green, and it was horrible.
And you were wearing a white shirt.
Well, yeah, Huntington Surf and Sport gave me this shirt.
Brought to you by HSS. Sorry, Aaron.
Oh God.
So when I landed, and the TV camera was there, and the newspapers and all that stuff, you can change a little bit, get cleaned up, and I think my daughter was there, and she gave me a different shirt or something to cover up the vomit that was all over me because I was
unreal. I know people were saying,
but he did well.
Don threw up. Don threw up. I go, what? What do you mean he threw up? Yeah, he landed. He was all covered.
It was awesome, but he was all smiles and it was all good. But I'll
fun.
tell you, if you've never
I'd do it again. It was unbelievable.
Skydiving is an incredible thing. It's like, I remember my first and only time, frankly, doing it was, it was like, I loaded in the plane first, and then of course if you're first in, you're last out, right? So you're watching everybody else jump out, and then it's like, okay, it's your turn. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to do it. I changed my mind. They're like, so then it's like trying to put a cat in a bathtub, and the cat's like, no, and they threw me out, and then you start falling, right? And then you're like, all of a sudden
were you attached to somebody?
I'm attached to a guy in the back, and then you have that feeling of weightlessness, that you get where you're stuck, and then that stops actually, and then all of a sudden you just feel like you're flying.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the thought hits you. You're like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my whole life.
Wow.
Exactly.
And then you're falling and falling and falling, and all of a sudden the parachute comes out, and then you realize, oh shit, that's why they strapped a guy to my back, because I would have forgot.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
and then you land, and they're like, you want to do it again? You're like, no, I'm good, thanks.
No, I'm good, thanks. Don's going, I want to do it again.
Yeah, Don's good. He's chumming the waters for the fishes out there.
I saw a whale. I saw something. Let's do it again.
It was unreal. It was so clear and beautiful that day.
And there's so many memories like that. I mean, of how the air show has just touched all the different people in the community, and not just that. I don't mean to take control of the show here, but I got to segue and say, like, the thing that has the greatest effect on me about being involved with the air show, of all the things that I do, is like the teams love it. It's great, all the kids, the families, all that. But when you come to Joint Forces Training Base and you see the C-17 pull up, and you see the ramp come down, and you see 200 moms and babies and strollers come out the back of it because they came to see dad or mom do their thing, you realize, like, this is about something bigger than just Huntington Beach. It's bigger than just me or any of the. When I say it's a community thing, it's like it's an American thing, And these guys, these service members, they're on the road 52 weeks out of the year. You know what I mean?
Flyers,
they're
the pilots.
Yeah, they're in Fargo, North Dakota. They're in Sheboygan. They're in Daytona. They work every single day, right? Their day off is like Tuesday, Wednesday, right? So they go home on Monday after the show's over. If they can get back to Nellis, they're home like Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday or Thursday, they're back in the jet going somewhere so that they can perform on the weekends, right? They get very few weekends off. And so for them to be able to feel like Huntington Beach is a place where they can bring their families, where they feel welcomed, where they can take time to go surfing with guys like Don and, you know what I mean? Or whatever the experience is, or Rocky, you know, who goes surfing with the guys all the time and has a great relationship with them. Like Huntington Beach is a place where it's like, bring your family, we'll take care of you, enjoy.
And that big jet flies in and brings the families here.
Yep.
Wow.
I know some of the guys, for example, will actually fly in, land the jet, get in the rental car, drive back to Las Vegas, pick up their family, and drive back out to Huntington Beach.
Wow.
You know, it's incredible. And that part to me is the most meaningful.
Kevin, thank you for sharing that, because this is really, for the listeners, what we're doing was we're hitting a home run right now, because I don't think people realize the magnitude of what that's why I wanted you on the show.
Yeah.
Especially, it's coming up next month. And to have you share this with us, it really opens up a lot of people's minds. Like, wow, I didn't have any idea, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I mean, this is, I've put on my own small event here in Huntington Beach, one in San Diego. I can't imagine the stress I went through to do that car show, or Don, or even helping Don sometimes, what it takes to do something that you've done. And now I think we've really opened up the hearts and souls of people who are watching this right now to see what it's all about and what really goes into this.
I tell you, now I want to keep it positive, obviously, but my anecdote is like, it's hard enough to do the work, there's a lot of people out there that have been, really have made it difficult to make this event happen. Unfortunately, in our community, there are those out there that would like to see the air show go away, which I don't really understand. But we've been fighting against that, and
I'm going to add to that really quick.
Yeah,
Kevin, you're a leader, and we all know, once you become a leader, the haters follow. Yeah. They're just there. They're part of it. To me, it actually, what do they say? It doesn't matter how it's portrayed. Right. What matters is what ends up being the end result. And the end result is so many people, you touch so many lives with the air show, so many families, like you're saying. And you're always going to have the haters. You're always going to have the people that, for some reason, we don't want the fire pits. When that started happening, I was like, you're a bunch of people that moved here from another state or another city. You moved here, and now you don't like the fire pits, and we all do. The locals love the fire pits; they're staying.
Exactly.
You're always going to have those people, and no matter what, don't let that get you down. Oh my gosh, let that go.
I try my best. It's a tough one for sure.
For every one of those, there's probably 50,000 people.
Yeah, that love it.
You're right though. I've yet to run into anybody on the street that's like, "Oh, you're involved with the air show," that doesn't go, "Oh my God, it's our kid's favorite thing," or "We absolutely love it," or "Thank you for doing what you're doing. We're 100% behind you." I've yet to meet that person that's like, "Well, screw you." They're just keyboard warriors on Facebook.
Yeah, that's it. They got to have their fingers going. Who knows?
But I don't really put much stock into that.
Don't.
So my everybody asked me. They said, "Well, what are you looking forward to the most this year?" I said, "I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to the most." And it's sort of ironic, is I think I look forward to the same things everybody else looks forward to. I look forward to spending time with my kids. And everybody says, "Well, what about your wife?" I said, "Oh, I love her too." But taking my son and my daughter out to the base and seeing the Thunderbirds fly. My son comes into me the other morning and he goes, Daddy, look at my stealth bomber. He's all into it. And like, that's what life, that's what life's all about, and if I can help bring that passion that I felt as a kid to a couple of kids, and if that in some way has an effect on them, like flying had an effect on me, then I've done my job.
More than any other event in my community, everybody in my community comes out of their houses. They all put tables, food, because we're right there at the end of the resorts. The jets are like right over our house. Yeah. We go to boat. We'll go sit on the beach, but we'll sit at our house, and we got the air show right there.
All right. Well, here's my call to your neighbors who are all listening to the podcast. Please go on the website and book a ticket. Come down and hang out in the hospitality, because that is how, and it's my shameless plug, I guess, but that's how this show survives. Unfortunately, I wish it was free, but it's just not, right? So we need people to come down, buy a ticket, book a ticket, come down to the show and support it. If you like it, support it, because if we don't get people to book a ticket, there's really no other way to pay the bills.
We'll help plug that. Yeah,
Well, so-
absolutely.
The couple times that the air show closed down, like on that Sunday when the oil spill and all that.
When was that? I don't
fiasco,
remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I guess I blocked it out.
All the vendors that would have made money, he paid every one of the vendors
It's true.
Wow.
out of his own pocket that lost money on that day. People don't know that about him.
Wow, there you
Last
go.
year, because of the weather, everybody who had tickets, he told them, hey, bring your ticket next year and we're going to make it good.
Wow.
These are things that he's gone out of his
Kevin,
way.
that's unreal.
A lot of
Unreal.
events won't do that.
You got
He-
professional, rock and roll superstars that won't do that.
Yeah, well, he does it, and and he doesn't. I mean, it's not anything that he brags about or whatever. But believe me, behind this, all that happens is a guy who really cares about everybody who comes to the event, what the event is about, the impact that it makes on the community. These are all things that, I mean, they're part of the whole thing, but he doesn't. He doesn't boast or brag about it, which
You're humble.
makes it even
well,
better.
Let's bring that up. So how much? What's? I'm assuming there's different levels you can purchase. A general admission. What would a ticket like general admission be?
I think the general admission tickets are around. To be honest, I don't know exactly. I think they're around $50. What's great about that is, it's like, well, why would I pay $50? When I could sit on the beach for free. The reality is there's a lot of infrastructure, security, restrooms, fencing. The sound system that we put out, I mean, it's
Sound
like
system
2
is unreal.
miles long. It's an
Yeah.
incredible sound system. It's
Fantastic.
not just some speakers on a stick. Of course, this guy's played on my sound systems a couple times, so he can be my testimonial. But we put out a
great.
concert sound system that's incredible. We've got our announcer. We've got things for the kids to do. This year we're bringing in. We've launched a new initiative called our Next Gen STEM Lab, and so we're getting science, technology, engineering, math, and all of these different brands to come down and participate. I think Tesla, for example, will have a big display down there this year. So we're getting a lot more corporate participation, and that's going to continue to grow. Our goal in the next couple of years is to launch the next gen conference and start focusing on things. The event is so significant internationally and nationally. Obviously, we had the, like him or hate him, we had the former President Trump fly over in his airplane, which was really cool. And then, frankly, we invited, Joe Biden last year. For anybody who wants to hate on me for the Trump flyover, we did send a letter. Every year we send a letter. So it doesn't matter who's in the White House. I'll put that on record that we're going to make sure they get invited to Pacific Airshow.
That's cool.
You can see Joe flying over like, hello, Delaware. It's like, no, sir, this is Huntington Beach. But,
What about sponsors? Do you still looking for sponsors?
But yeah, so we've got all these different initiatives that we're doing to really bring that activation down to the beach, right? To drive the value proposition of why purchase a ticket. And we are looking for sponsors, whether they're local sponsors, or national sponsors. Now that we have a long-term agreement with the city and we have an agreement with the Coastal Commission, and that we've, sort of put some of the, questions to bed in terms of, what does the future of the event hold? The future of the event is solid. It's not going anywhere. And so we're going to continue to charge and drive hard to, bring some of those partners on now that we have some of that security.
Well, there's one thing for sure. Count on me and Karen, my wife and I.
Perfect.
We'll get our tickets. We'll go down.
Awesome.
But, and now let's make it very clear, everybody, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
more
I think
people attending. You got to pay
we
for this
need
event.
community.
Nothing's free. So
We
you
need
gotta,
community support. Now, we get a lot of people from out of town, but, I'll put it into perspective for you, right? So we have the air show in Australia. Australia is a much smaller place than the United States. We launched Pacific Airshow Gold Coast in 2023, although we worked on it since really 2019. And we delivered that first event there. We sold probably 2.5 times the amount of tickets in Australia that we sell here in Huntington Beach, even though Huntington Beach is a larger event by attendance. The people in Australia really supported it. And again, that's not a slight to anybody in Southern California. It's just, I think, we just need to get people to understand that if you do like the event, obviously we would, really benefit from people supporting it.
Well, there's a lot of power in social media, and Don and I can make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I figured Don's got at least like 100,000 friends. I just need like half of them to book a ticket, and then you can take care of the other half, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah,
so
we'll rock
no,
and
it's been great. I mean, and you can imagine, you've done events, you just talked about it. I mean, imagine trying to monetize an event like this and make it work. It costs millions and millions of dollars to put it on.
Yeah.
And there's the people who are like, we can get the Blue Angels to fly for free, or the Thunderbirds. No, you can't. It's not free. I mean,
free.
you got to pay for rooms and cars and insurance, and I mean the costs to do it are immense. And by the way, we put up I think something like 1,600 room nights in the city of Huntington Beach for the air show that the air show pays for. So I mean, how much does a room cost now? $250, $300
At least.
What's 1,600 times 300?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, and so that's just the hotel bill. That's not the security bill. That's not the the hundreds of porta potties that we have to bring in and pay for to
Trash
supplement
cans.
the city restrooms because they're inadequate and all of those types of things. And so it's a lot, and we're happy to do it, but it's got to make sense. And
financially.
yeah, exactly.
Got to justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
But, all in all, if we have good weather and, God shines down on us with 3 beautiful sunny days.
Yeah, come on.
We'll be feeling good and energized coming out of this event, and we'll be
We gotta
sky's
share.
the limit for 2026.
I like the sky's the limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know the three of us, we'll go to town. Yeah. Let's get this thing. Yeah. We need a tent. We can't have Australia outperform Huntington Beach. Hell no. We gotta fix that.
It's a great community over there. I mean, I'll have to say, anybody from Huntington, my shameless plug for Australia is anybody from Huntington Beach or Southern California that's listening to this. If you wanted the experience of a lifetime, go to Gold Coast of Australia during Pacific Airshow in August of next year. It is unbelievable. It's a different experience than it is here, but it's just such a cool experience. If
Wow.
you've never been to Australia, I would say that's the time to do it.
Been there a few times, and it is good. So if people want to know or get more information about the air show, where do they go?
They just head on over to pacificairshow.com and then just click on Huntington Beach, and it'll take you right there.
Phone numbers, everything's there.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have a phone number. We'd actually put Rick Brown's phone number down. Put the
Yeah,
phone number
right.
there. It's just
bug Rick.
It's the complaint line. Just call Rick Brown. No, we have email addresses. We're very modern. But no, yeah, it's all the information is there. And, we have a great RV camping experience, too. If you have an RV.
Yeah, our drummer goes to that every year.
It's absolutely awesome. I'm down there with my RV and hang out with everybody. And we curate this whole little village of folks that are down there to enjoy the air show for the weekend. It's awesome.
All right, this year I want to hang with you guys at the air show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hang with you guys at the air show.
Yeah, we've got some amazing things on the docket this year. One of the cool things I'm looking forward to is, well, number one, we have 6 countries represented. To give you some idea of the recognition of Pacific Airshow, we're involved with the European Airshow Council. So every year I travel to Europe to talk about the show and participate. I'm also on the board of the International Council of Air Shows, so I'm kind of involved in the air show business at a pretty high level internationally, especially in Australia. But the show has such recognition that the German Air Force is sending an A400M this year, which is the German military transport.
Wow.
And I don't know. I think there's only one A400M that's ever performed in an air show in the United States, and that was when the Red Arrows came and the A400M performed at Huntington Beach. So this will be like a second time, and it's really cool. It's kind of like the Airbus's version of the C-17. But I just look at it as the airplane is cool. It's kind of incidental, but to get recognition from the German Air Force to say, hey, we want to come over to Huntington Beach.
Yeah, international
I'm
recognition.
like, that's pretty cool. And then on top of that, they say, hey, the Typhoon demo team, which is their, Eurofighter Typhoon, wants to come to Huntington Beach too. And I'm like, oh, awesome, Typhoon, that's so cool. Yeah, fuck yeah. And then they go, oh, but they don't want to bring the Typhoon. They just want to come on vacation.
Oh.
And so we actually have the German Typhoon team that's actually coming to Huntington Beach just to go on vacation in Huntington Beach and watch Pacific Airshow. So
Unreal.
here you got a group
That's
of
still
guys
good.
that literally fly air shows for a living that are taking their time off to come to Huntington Beach to go on vacation here to watch an air show. So
Unreal.
if that doesn't speak to, the quality of product, then I don't know what does.
Well, unreal. Kevin, thank you so much. What is good episode? Good guy, humble as can be. I don't know how you don't have gray hair or even have hair with what you must go through.
Oh,
He's
man.
still young. He's still young.
Yeah, I got plenty of time to lose my hair. It'll be fine. Yeah,
I want
no,
to talk to you. If I can volunteer, if I can help, I want to, whatever I can do to pitch
Yeah,
in.
you'll be regretting you said that.
Yeah, okay.
We got it on 2 cameras, at least the ones that I can see here.
Yeah,
but-
we're good. Yeah.
No, I
I'll do it.
appreciate what you guys do, and especially thank you to Don here, who's been a stalwart supporter, and the Van Clan and everybody. I mean, like I said, it's a community thing. We talked a lot about the air show. There's a lot more substance to, what I do than just that. But I mean, obviously, the support that we get from the entire community to make this work, it would just not happen without guys like Don and all the fantastic people of Huntington Beach. So, and I think it's an event that we should really be proud to host.
Heck yes.
It brings in the types of people that we can be
100%,
proud to have here. It's not riffraff. We've never had a single arrest at the event. Knock on whatever this is, rubber. So, we're excited. Let's get the good weather going for this year. What do you say, buddy?
Let's make sure it's good.
We're
weather.
gonna have good
We got to
weather.
have it. It's going to be 3
I've
awesome days.
I've made very important phone calls to make sure good weather.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm happy. I'm ready to rock and
We'll
roll.
all pitch in and make sure we pay that
right.
bill. We want to go back. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you
It's
for
been a
having
great
me.
visit.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm Mel Craig.
And I'm Don Ramsey.
Thanks for joining us for another great episode of HB Unplugged with Kevin Elliott. We're out. Very good.